My Production Bible. For production, I was told that I had to create a video essay which would identify an area of animation. The created video essay should include appropriate animation and scanned imagery with accompanying narration and sound design. The main idea that I had thought of for this video essay would be using multiple background designs which will merge into each other. I will have one picture that will zoom into the focus point and then transfer to another picture which is in the close-up focus point of the last picture, and it will have another focus point within that as well to create an infinity tunnel illusion. The design which I was creating was called an infinity zoom animation, and it would take a lot of time to plan, create and produce to be able to look successful. The background. I did extensive research into this topic and found a perfect video which resembles what I wanted to create as my topic. The video shows an effective infinity zoom animation to celebrate and promote the new Chili Team kit for Nike. I did some more research and also found this website which contains an infinitely zooming image that was also quite interesting. Another thing which I found was a video which showed a bunch of different infinity zoom examples. This was extremely efficient to find because it gave me a ton of different ideas from different artists and animators, and it allowed me to have a look at how their work differentiated from each other. After finding all of these different examples, I had a good idea of what I wanted to create and had the basis remembered for when I would start to create. Prototyping. I started off by drawing out the different background designs which I wanted to create. Firstly, it started off as a design in a forest. I really liked this picture, but I had drawn it in the completely wrong perspective, and at the time I decided to use parts of it as the inside of the infinity zoom animation. My idea for separate pictures went like this: savannah to tunnel, tunnel to forest, forest to bridge, bridge to cave, and cave back to savannah. This loop would continue for the length of the 1 minute time. I started by doing these hand-drawn and then advancing them onto a digital copy. There were some issues when firstly going to do the digital copies because I was going to use a Wacom tablet, but then decided I didn't really like how they worked, so stayed with using a mouse and keyboard for Photoshop. I then drew a few of the backgrounds in detail on Photoshop, but when zooming into them they went really blurry and full of pixels. This wouldn't be successful for the final product, so I was looking for other ways to complete this task while keeping the image in good quality. I was told that using Illustrator would help with the problem because they use vectors and they always keep the same resolution. I had a few attempts of the first drawing on Illustrator, but I didn't really like how it worked, so I had to go back to using Photoshop. The way I had to complete this in the end was to draw in 15,000 by 15,000 pixels, so when zooming in the drawing wouldn't show any of the blur when reaching 1920 by 1080 in the actual footage. The only downside to this was that it would take up a lot of storage space and take a long time to save. The final outcome. This is my prototype for my infinity zoom idea. This shows the ideas which I had brought into action. I have created this by piling my different drawn images together to create this effect. I had to have a transparent center point on each image where the camera would transverse to the next point. I added all these together in After Effects, where I then had the images placed on a plane together and zoomed through accordingly to match up as best as possible to create the infinite zoom effect. Firstly, I brought all of my finished Photoshop designs into After Effects. I had to place all of the images onto the plane and then zoom them accordingly to match up. I used a position and scale tool to align them together and then place the correct keyframes at the times I wanted to set them to. There is a bunch of different layers where the image is being zoomed through by the camera. I placed each image on the screen for around 8 seconds and then replaced the first image at the end to create the loop. After successfully setting up the zooming, I placed the video into Premiere and copied it so it would loop twice. At the point of looping on the animation, I placed on a flash effect as it matched up with the start. The reason I did this was because from the research I did, I couldn't find how to get the video to continue looping from the start again smoothly. My conclusion. Overall, I did enjoy creating this infinity zoom animation. I think it turned out pretty well, but I think there are some things which I could improve on when recreating it another time if I have the available resources. What I would need to remember firstly would be to have the center point and the horizon line of each image in the same place. The reason why I would need to do this is because then the audience can look straight through the tunnel instead of looking either down at the ground or up into the sky when the image is zooming through. Something else I noticed was that the zoom worked better on the images which had a sort of tunnel for the camera to fly through. This is because the sky, when in view while zooming, filled a large area of the screen, but then swapped to something else when another image filled that gap. This could have been masked and improved by just finding something for the camera to fly through. Another thing which I could improve on is the colours which I used. I think if I recreate this, that I should use a wider range of gradients to make everything look more detailed and realistic. For a first prototype, I think it was successful, because it did what I wanted it to do. But also, I would need to learn how to loop the animation in Premiere for a smoother transition, rather than just hiding it with an effect. This was the production bible of my Infinity Zoom animation.